All right, ladies and gents, we have a new deck video that I am bringing to you guys, which actually, and I might do this a little bit more in the future, coincides with one of the decks that the finalists from this past weekend's Duels of Runeterra tournament actually ran, and it is dun dun dun. Actually, a deck I'm really excited about. Go get it, Mistwraiths. You know, you can call it a few different things. It doesn't really matter, but Go Get It is in the deck, which is why we kind of gravitate towards that. This deck was brought by a couple different Team Aretuza members over this past weekend to the Duels of Runeterra tournament. I'm going to go ahead and give the credit to Precipic here with the deck link in the description below to Mobilytics. I'm pretty sure he's the first one that came up with this original build of the deck. You could argue that one way or the other, but in general, this deck is pretty freaking cool. It is basically a bunch of Mistwraiths with Go Get It. Go Get It synergizes with Mistcaller or Wraithcaller. It also synergizes with Frenzied Skitterer in the deck when they're summoned. You have the Harrowing as well, which more summon effects. So pretty cool stuff overall as far as how the deck works. But we'll get into that in a second. As always, we're going to go through two games followed by, prior to that, we're going to go through the deck itself as well. We'll go through some of the choices in the deck. And yeah, this is a hell of a deck. We had Zinc bring it to the tournament. We also had Hunter V, who ended up winning the tournament, bringing it as well. Unfortunately, the deck was banned in the finals, but we did see some action in the semifinals for that deck. So my name is Justin, also known as Shit Just Works. Today we're going over a deck that Hunter V played in the semifinals of Duels of Runeterra number 17. So strap yourselves in. Let's see how this baby works. All right, so here we have it. The deck, I've dubbed it Tiger Wraiths just because of the Go. I love the artwork on this card. I'm just going to toss that out there. But yeah, so this is basically, again, in the description below, you're going to see a link to Precipic's version of the deck, which is essentially the same exact thing. I think the only difference here is I have a Fading Memories instead of a Mistwraith, third Mistwraith, which, you know, you could argue one way or the other. Fading Memories can obviously just get you a Mistwraith. Fading Memories can also get you a lot of other copies of useful things in this deck. Arachnid Horror is good with it. Stygian Onlooker is good with it. Even Hapless Aristocrat, if you need blockers or more Spiderlings, is good with it. Doom Beast, obviously, is great. Frenzied Skitterer, any of these other, you know, Wraiths that you get, especially Wraithcaller. So, but for the most part, the same exact deck. This deck is so fun. So fun. It's aggro. So if you're the type of person, if you're the type of gal or guy that likes to go face, this is the deck for you. There's actually, if you notice, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, there's 8 2-drops, which is one of the reasons I decided to go with Fading Memories as well instead of the 9th 2-drop in a third Mistwraith. This deck wants to go hard fast. A lot of the times, and I don't know if you'll see it in these two games, but if you draw Stygian Onlooker first turn, you actually will want to go ahead and just play it to attack with it, even though it won't be a 4-1 with Fearsome. Feels bad, man. Yeah, I know, but, you know, it is what it is. You have to be able to push as fast and as hard as possible. Essentially, the idea here is, yeah, you guessed it. You have Wraithcaller. You get a lot of these bad boys on the field with Mistwraiths. You can also add a third copy of Risen Mists as well. This card actually is incredible in a deck like this. This is one of the reasons why Mistwraiths can actually be good now, obviously in conjunction with Go Get It. This is very important because you can prep a much better open attack with something like Risen Mists or surprise your opponent with an additional blocker. Like, this is big in the mirror match actually as well if you are trying to defend against your opponent having a bunch of Mistwraiths, which I actually did stumble upon one person on ladder that had this deck as well. So, yeah, I mean, I love this card. I love the versatility of this card. Go Get It. All right. Oh, so good. Love this card. Go Get It synergizes so well with this deck. So let's start with Harrowing, actually. So Harrowing, when you revive the 6 strongest allies, you get summon effects. So you get Wraithcaller. You get Frenzied Skitterer effect goes off, right? You get Mistwraiths effect goes off, right? You get all these things that have these summon effects. It works really well with. And then on top of that, obviously, you have Mistwraiths. You know, just they're going to be really big at that point, especially because of the summon effect from the Harrowing. So you're almost guaranteed to get, like, you know, 3/6/2 Fearsomes or something ridiculous like that, right? So with that being said, Now we have Go Get It. So very similar to Harrowing, this plays on the whole summon effect thing. So if, excuse me, let's say your opponent is targeting really anything. It could be Frenzied Skitter, it could be Wraithcaller, whatever. You go ahead and go get it, if that makes sense. It's going to summon an ephemeral copy in its place, and then it's going to put a 0-cost one in your hand. Now, if you're targeting something like a Wraithcaller, like a Mistwraith, like a Frenzied Skitterer, not only are you basically saving the target from destruction because you'll be able to replay the one at 0 cost, the one that gets summoned to the field as an ephemeral gets the summon effect. All right, go get it-ing. That sounds so weird. Go get it-ing a Frenzied Skitterer is amazing. It feels so good. I can't tell you how many times you're able to get multiple Frenzied Skitterers off in a turn, if not because of Go Get It. You know, we even have the Stalking Shadows that you can get it from. We have the Fading Memories you can get it from, and then just drawing a couple on one turn. Now, something to note, Nocturne's level up doesn't actually, this is when you play a unit, so you're not playing a unit from something like Go Get It or Harrowing, you're summoning the unit, so it actually doesn't work with Nocturne's level 2, just a, you know, very slight difference in words there, but I don't know. This deck is awesome. You'll see what I mean when we get into the gameplay. So let's go ahead and jump into game 1 of 2 of this Go Get It Mistwraiths deck, which I'm sure you guys are all going to enjoy. All right, ladies and gents, we got the Go Get It Mistwraiths. So two actually really good matchups to kind of showcase the abilities of this deck against two decks that, generally speaking, actually, the second one probably doesn't really have the capability of winning against this deck. But this first one definitely does, because as you can tell by the regions, we have Freljord and Shadow Owls, which means this is just good old, excuse me, ramp, as per usual. This is what, like, everybody's playing on ladder. I will say, this is not necessarily a just, like, you auto-win matchup, usually strictly because of Avalanche. So it's actually super important in this particular matchup to not only be aggressive, obviously you need to be more aggressive than your opponent and kind of win the game before they get something like Field of Rush, if they're playing Field of Rush, or War Mother's Down, or even just a big Trundle or something like that, like we see hit the field here. Trundle, if they have it on turn 4, is actually a really big problem, as you could probably guess, but you need to play around things like Withering Wail and Avalanche. So right now, Withering Wail doesn't really matter. We're not worried about it. We just have the Hapless Aristocrat. We can focus on getting some bigger units out. Unfortunately for us, though, pretty much everything in our deck has 2 health. Frenzied Skitterer and Mistwraiths generally, and Doom Beasts are what we're usually attacking with early on. We do have Nocturne, and we have the Wraithcallers at 3 health, but Wraithcaller does not have Fearsome, which is a big deal. And Nocturne, I mean, that's going to be a priority target. They're probably going to want to single it out and kill it anyways. So right here, we're attacking to play around Avalanche. Right? We're not developing any more than we need to because we know that our opponent probably has a board wipe. If it wasn't Avalanche, they were on 9 mana. It could have been Ruination. There's another thing you have to worry about. So these are the cards that you are essentially constantly looking at your opponent's mana every single turn to figure out whether or not they have. Withering Wail, Avalanche, Ruination, Vengeance, technically, but you actually don't care about Vengeance. You can actually just not bother to play around Vengeance. Even if you stick something like a Nocturne, it doesn't really matter if they kill your Nocturne, because you should generally, having them spend 7 mana is a big deal, because then you should be able to redevelop more things, or the attack reduction plus the vulnerable that Nocturne gives should be able to get you to be able to swing for a big turn anyway. So this is where it's really, really, really difficult. We have our opponent at 9, right? We want to try to push as much damage as possible. We want to try to close out the game, like, next attack turn. Like, it has to happen next attack turn. We're not developing anything. Even with 9 mana, you can see that we passed there on 9 mana. We do not want to develop anything because we don't want our opponent to Ruination. So our opponent decides they want to go ahead and play Withering Wail. All right, fine. Now we'll develop something a little bit more. Why, you may ask? Because they still have 5 mana. And what about Avalanche? They could still have an Avalanche. Well, they wouldn't have played a Withering Wail like that. Like, that was a mistake, I think, for my opponent. They wouldn't have played Withering Wail like that if they had an Avalanche. And this is exactly why I'm just like, balls to the wall. Let's kill it. We got this. Let's go in. And that's why we hit the Nocturne next. I'm not really worried about the -1 attack because we do have other Frenzied Skitters if we need it. We can just vulnerable to Trundle, so that's really what matters the most anyways. Now, I think I might pull this back. So my thought process here, because obviously the Kindly Tavern Keeper can block the Nocturne, my thought process is, all right, well, if I didn't have my opponent on Avalanche before, they probably don't have Ruination, or if they do, I don't mind Ruination because I can actually redevelop with another Fearsome unit plus Stygian Onlooker for 7 damage. So it's not going to feel too bad. Plus, they're going to lose their Trundle. They're going to lose their Weirding Stones. They're going to lose their whole field, right? And they'll be out of mana. So that'll actually be a pretty big advantage. Now they're out of mana for Ruination. Now I'm definitely pedal to the metal, baby. Pedal to the metal. They're at 8 mana. I'm going in. I know they don't have mana for Ruination. I know they don't have Avalanche. I can do as much as I want here. That Frenzied Skitterer just wins me the game. Because now I don't even need the Vulnerable on the Trundle because of the Frenzied Skitterer. And this is what I mean right here. Vengeance. Called it. Called it. Vengeance on the Nocturne. Doesn't even matter. We got another Stygian Onlooker that we can summon. And look at that board. Look at that beautiful, beautiful board of Fearsomes. I actually don't even know why. Or I pulled the Trundle because it would have blocked the 4-2 anyways. But that's the power of this deck, baby. But a lot of the reason we were able to win that game was on the read that our opponent didn't have something like Avalanche. Avalanche is the card to look out for in that matchup. So you definitely need to keep an eye out for that and be really, really careful making sure that you're not playing into an Avalanche, because in that game right there, if we screw that up, Avalanche could have just blown us out 100%. So now we're in a matchup that I actually do see a lot on ladder. There's still a lot of breakfast at Tiffany's floating around still. Rock-a-tom, right? And this generally, they don't have any Fearsome blockers. Like I don't like ever. The only reason they would have Fearsome blockers is some sort of attack buff, like if they played Zenith Blade or something like that, which I think we actually have in this matchup. Generally speaking, they're not doing that, so you're not going to see it. Now, actually, sorry, I take that back. This Boxtopus basically represents the only Fearsome blocker, which is why, as bad as this feels, playing this Unspeakable Horror, yes, I promise you there are times that you'll want to play Unspeakable Horror without the Nightfall effect, and it might feel bad, but it is what it is. In this case, this is really good for us because we not only get rid of a Fearsome blocker, we also disable this whole Soraka Boxtopus combo, which would have completely wrecked us there. It would have absolutely destroyed our field. It would have taken the Mistwraith. The Boxtopus would have lived. They would have had another turn to challenge something. Not good. Plus, it's a Fearsome blocker. So, we want to keep throwing Fearsome units out. We see the Tahm Kench come down. Now we know we can just go for it. We can just go in with everything. We go in with the Hapless Aristocrat as well. And keep this in mind. This is important when you're playing Elise or Spider decks. You can generally send the Aristocrat in on attack, regardless of whether or not you think your opponent's going to block. Because if they block it, a Spider token comes out of it, which is more of a chance to level up the Elise. So generally speaking, your opponent won't block the Hapless Aristocrat because they don't want the Spiderling to come out. So just something to take into consideration there. But yeah, so Tahm Kench is, obviously, he's Tahm Kench. He's a problem. We do go ahead and let that Elise get captured. Now, the consideration, I think, originally was to go get it there, which I think you'll see here in a little bit. And this is why Go Get It's so good. There's actually a cool interaction with Go Get It and Tahm Kench, too, which is pretty awesome. But Stalking Shadows. I think the first time I built this deck, I had like 3 Glimpse and 3 Stalking Shadows. I think that's overkill. I know Precipic's version also didn't have any Glimpse Beyond. I had tried building something like this previously before Go Get It came out, and it was just too much draw. It was like Glimpse Beyond would be a dead card a lot of the time, like you don't want it. So, but oh my God, Stalking Shadows is redonkulous in this deck. Now you play less followers and units than you probably want to with Stalking Shadows because you kind of don't have the best probability to always draw a unit. Generally speaking, you draw a unit, but I have missed before, and it feels really bad. But any unit you hit, any freaking unit that you hit in this deck is gold. It's so good. So you can see, Frenzied Skitterer, one of the better units to hit with it. It's so good being able to get 2 of these down in one turn, because generally speaking, it's kind of hard for an opponent to have multiple 4+ attack, or sorry, more than 4 attack units. Unless they're playing like mid-range deck, and generally speaking, this deck is just doesn't do too hot versus mid-range. Just throw that out there. Like Scouts, it's not great against Scouts. You have to get a really specific hand to win, I think, with Scouts. But now, Go Get It. This is where Go Get It comes in. So Go Get It does so many things in this situation. And I think I actually checked this before I played the Go Get It. I was like, wait, is this going to work how I think it's going to work? And you can see me hovering Ephemeral. And then I think I actually, yeah, I go, yeah, and it strikes him. So basically how this works is the Go Get It will not negate Tahm Kench's card because there will still be a unit there. But two things are going to happen. The Mistwraith is going to pop out from Go Get It, and it's going to buff everything again. So now all the Mistwraiths go up to 4. You can see the summon go off. Now when it strikes Tahm Kench, because that's specifically what the card says, it's ephemeral, it dies. That means Tahm Kench does not capture it, which means Tahm Kench is not closer to his level up. I don't know. I thought it was pretty cool interaction. That's just me. Plus, the audio video that comes up with it, I actually love as well with the Go Get It card, but that's besides the point. All right, so anyways, they actually Bastion to get this Tahm Kench available as a blocker, which is, I mean, pretty shitty for us, unfortunately. It does barely get him up there. We do still go in with everything, even though we lose a Mistwraith, because we want to get them down as low as possible. Broadback. All right, so listen. Broadback Protector, this thing. All right, this card, like, generally is not in this deck anymore. Most of the time you see this deck played, it's more of the aggressive version without Broadback Protector. Broadback Protector is definitely a problem for us. Not that, I mean, it's not a fearsome blocker or anything, so it's not terrible, but it just feels bad because it's going to be that much harder because they're going to be healing 3 every turn. But we can do this, ladies and gentlemen. We can do this. We got this. So, I think, yeah, we're going to go ahead and block the Tahm Kench just to get the Spider token. Or we might not even block, to be honest with you. I don't think it's needed here one way or the other. We could take all the damage if we really wanted to. But the Spider token, generally, the Spiderling, is going to be more useful because of these Frenzied Skitterers that we have in hand. So when we go ahead and play the Frenzied Skitterers, not only does everything lose attack, and then they don't have fearsome blockers, yada, 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 we get these Spider tokens on the field as well that will gain attack, as well as Elise, right? And possibly even level up Elise. So we get all the fearsome units in the world, and then this is where, you know, like, your hand, this is it. This is the last turn. This is it. Everything's on the table. Everything's getting thrown down. Unfortunately, we lose one to the Tahm Kench. We want to get as many units down as possible. The way that our hand works with the mana, we're only getting 2 units down no matter what. So obviously, the best units to get down are going to be the Frenzied Skitterers. And one thing to note about this Rocket Tahm deck, there's really no removal outside of Tahm Kench. Everything else that's going to be in our opponent's hand is like health buffs, Guiding Touch. So really what we're worried about right now is playing around Guiding Touch. They played Zenith Blade, so technically they could Zenith Blade something here to get it up to a fearsome blocker. They'd have to Zenith Blade the Tahm Kench in order for that to work. And once the Zenith Blade comes out, we're pretty sure we have it all wrapped up. I'm actually not sure why the hell they Zenith Blade the Soraka. Seems a little odd. Just throwing that out there. I mean, oh, Pale Cascade. So Pale Cascade is something that we have to play around as well as a blocker. But when everything is said and done, we have plenty of fearsome attackers that it doesn't even matter if there's a Pale Cascade and a Guiding Touch. We still have exactly 7 damage when we line up the blocks. And this is the power of 2 Frenzied Skitterers, man. And Go Get It. Like, imagine if you had Go Get It-ed a Frenzied Skitterer. It works similar to the Mistwraith. You get that summon effect off. And that Go Get It is just so good in this deck. All right, and there you have it. There is the Go Get It Mistwraiths deck. Awesome that this deck is picking up some steam. I've been playing it on ladder. I love it. I've got a great win rate with it so far, so definitely try this out if you haven't already messed with Mistwraiths in general. Go Get It, I think, is a great addition to the deck as kind of a mid-range finisher as compared to the Harrowing, which is obviously you're just going to play that. Turn 6, technically you could play it, but a little bit later in the game, usually as a finisher. But if you guys want more deck videos, put something in the comments below. Let me know what kind of decks you guys want to see so I can go ahead and try to get those videos up in between some of this tournament footage. But as always, everybody, stay healthy, stay positive. I hope shit just works for you, and peace out.